Hello, and welcome to Life Matters, the program where we engage life issues with critical thinking and a biblical worldview. Here is our host, Toni Clarke, Executive Director of Assure Women's Center in Omaha, Nebraska.
Welcome to Life Matters. I'm your host, Toni Clarke, Executive Director of Assure Women's Center in Omaha. I'm joined today by two key members of our team, Allie, our Marketing Specialist, and Audrey, our Patient Process Manager. We are going to be talking about Assure Women's Center, and our listeners are going to learn more about our internal processes for serving abortion-determined women and empowering them to choose life. Thank you both for being here.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Cool. I get to work with these ladies on a regular basis, so it's a lot of fun. We do hard work, but we have fun as well. So I'm really grateful for you all to join me. So at Assure, our passion is rescuing women and babies from abortion, and our mission is to be the first step for women facing an unplanned pregnancy, transforming their fear into confidence by addressing their physical, spiritual, and emotional needs, and equipping them to make healthy, life-affirming decisions. That's a lot of words, but each word makes a lot of sense.
It does.
It makes a lot of sense. Today, I want to focus on two key areas. First, how we reach the women who need us, and then once a woman calls or walks through our doors, how we serve her. So let's start with marketing. Allie, marketing plays a crucial role in reaching women who are facing an unsupported pregnancy. How do you approach marketing for Assure, and what strategies have been most effective?
Assure does a omni-channel marketing approach. And what that means is we don't just put our eggs in one basket, like let's just do social media or let's just focus on our SEO and keywords. So we try to get on as many platforms as we can because Assure is a service. So a woman doesn't need our service at all points of the time like a product, right? So it's just when she gets pregnant. So we really need to drive that awareness. So when she does find herself pregnant, she's already aware of Assure Women's Center. So that's kind of what we do with our marketing approach. And the most effective that I've found is a combination of paid search, which is Google. When somebody gets pregnant, like the first thing they're going to do is Google. So that means Assure is at the top of that Google search when she searches words like abortion or pregnancy help Omaha or abortion Omaha. That and then social media is something I found that's really effective. That has gotten a lot of women through the door because they see abortion services on their newsfeed or whatever.
So you said SEO, which is search engine optimization. Is that what you're talking about when you say Assure ends up at the top of the list? Is that where we pay money to make sure that we're at the top of the list if they choose abortion or they type in abortion?
Yeah, both. SEO is that, and then paid search is where we put money into making sure our specific keywords.
Okay.
Our biggest one is abortion pill, abortion Omaha, that we ensure that we are at the top or at least on page 1 of Google. We know that nothing really exists after page 1 of Google.
Right.
For Gen Zs and Gen Alphas, you know.
Well, I say for boomers too. So how do you balance digital marketing efforts such as social media and Google Ads with more traditional forms of outreach from in our community, like our community partners and word of mouth?
Well, that multi-touch thing that I was just talking about, the 10 touches, I've found in my own research and in marketing research that Assure has a cold audience, which is a marketing term, which means people aren't necessarily looking for our services all the time. Right. So we need to stay on top of that. So I'm trying to do a lot of stuff online because our target demographic is millennials, Gen Zs, and let's be honest, they're online. So most of my money is going to go there. But traditionally, we just started a billboard campaign, and that's for awareness and to drive conversions. Again, that multi-touch thing. And then word of mouth is now more online as well. I know when we think of word of mouth, we think of like conversations, but influencers, like we all know what influencers are. Those are people on Instagram, TikTok, even Facebook Reels that are influencing the younger generations to buy a product. So if we're actually in the beginning stages of working to get some of those influencers to talk about Assure on their platforms.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So, Allie, what are some of the biggest challenges we face in marketing, especially with online restrictions and pro-life advertising?
Oh my goodness. Well, navigating restrictions is definitely the hardest. Keywords like abortion or even pregnancy services are starting to be restricted, especially on Google and Meta, which is Facebook and Instagram. Even TikTok, trying to get on TikTok, which we did. We were, I believe, the first pregnancy center that was able to successfully run ads on TikTok. It was a beast. I mean, I had to open a personal credit card in order for us to run ads on TikTok. But it's because these platforms want to restrict people that want to be pro-life.
Yeah.
They want to, if you're advertising, make sure that you actually are performing abortions, which we are not. And so figuring out the puzzle to get our ads to effectively reach the abortion-determined woman without actually saying abortion or anything like that is a challenge.
It's almost like if you don't perform abortions, you can't talk about abortions.
Exactly.
And so it is really trying to squash our freedom of speech.
It's so hard because Planned Parenthood is over here, running circles around TikTok and social media. And here I'm facing my 20th ad rejection, trying to say something similar, but we're being censored. Even when I do YouTube advertisements, there's like a little clause that pops up that says, Assure doesn't provide or refer for abortions. So just to let you know, this is a fake clinic. But I've done my due diligence and have figured out some ways. And that's usually by using pictures to convey meaning. And luckily for me, Gen Z and Gen Alpha communicate with pictures more than text anyway. So that's actually been really effective.
Okay, so I guess along that, have there been any recent changes in our marketing tactics that have made a significant difference in reaching more women? Have you used any of those things that you just...
Oh, I sure have.
Consider.
I sure have.
Share some of them with us?
No, I don't want anyone to steal my marketing secrets, but yes, I will.
Good point.
Actually, the biggest change that we've done is market pre-abortion screenings. And we started that in December. It has been very effective. And how I can kind of get away with this is that in the Journal of Medicine, it's an actual platform that all of these doctors use. We technically do pre-abortion screenings, free pregnancy test, an ultrasound, determine viability, gestational age, all of that stuff. So the biggest change is that I'm marketing that now. And it's legit. There's no misleading things at all. Right. And I was actually just talking to Audrey this morning, and it looks like we're getting a lot more abortion is an option and abortion-determined women to schedule appointments. And you told me that some of them actually write pre-abortion screening on what to expect in an appointment.
When they walk in for their appointment and fill out that initial form, we ask the reason for today's visit, and they'll put pre-abortion screening on it.
And these young ladies know that we don't perform or provide for abortions because we tell them.
Oh, very much so.
And if they do put abortion, anything procedure, so the pill, the procedure, anything, we would meet with them. Even if they got in the door, which we tell them when they schedule, but even if they got in the door and still didn't understand, we meet with them before beginning the appointment to make sure that they do understand at that point that we don't perform.
So these are terms that we've used, for years with our patients because that's what they're looking for. I think the difference now is that we're advertising it more. And so perhaps some of our donors have seen our ads or our billboards, and they might, get a little nervous with that. But these are terms that the girls are looking for. As you just said, a young lady comes in and says that's what she wants. She knows that we don't perform or refer for abortions, but she just wants to be screened to see if she even needs one.
Right.
Yeah. Good. Wow. Allie, can you share a real life example of a woman or either one of you who have reached out to us because of our marketing efforts and how that made a difference in her life?
I had to contact Audrey on this.
You don't have to say that.
But it's true. I did. Because as marketing, I actually lose touch after they schedule. So
That's true.
once they schedule, I've done my job and I pass them over to Audrey. But I just want to read the story that Audrey did send me because I really, really like it. Is that okay? Can I steal your thunder? She said, we had a patient who is 25, unemployed, and in quotes, because these are her words, depressed about being pregnant with her third baby. She heard about us on Facebook and Instagram, which led her to our website. She then booked an appointment stating her intention to abort, which she repeated to her advocate once in the office. She said no one, in quotes, in her life would support parenting, but her partner would support an abortion. She saw her 5-week, 6-day-old baby with a viable heartbeat that day and made the decision to parent. We've spoken to her multiple times since then, and she is seeing an OB stating her pregnancy is going well. So that is really, really cool because I don't really, besides reading the prayer emails like all of our supporters do, I don't really know the outcome once they do schedule. So it's really encouraging to hear those stories that marketing is making a difference and getting
you get them in the door, which is huge because we can only help women who actually come.
It's true.
Well, so one of the challenges that we face is being a safe place where women can come for truth. But if they believe that we are motivated by faith or life, they may not make an appointment. On the other hand, we need to market to our donors and our volunteers that we are pro-life.
Right.
So how does your team balance that marketing, Allie?
Oh, we balance it actually really well. It is a really, really great process that we have. And just to clarify, our marketing is not misleading in any way. Yeah. But if I have a bunch of stuff on Google that we're a pro-life ministry and, we're for the moms and babies and we want them to parent and abortion is a horrible procedure, they're not gonna come here if they want an abortion. If they see that, I mean, we're gonna tilt our hand and we're gonna lose them all to Planned Parenthood. So what we do is we have 2 sections of marketing. We have our Assure, which is our patient side, and we have FirstSteptoLife, which is FirstSteptoLife.com, and on Facebook, it's FirstSteptoLife Omaha. And that's our supporter site. That's where we talk about our ministry and patient stories with anonymity, obviously. All of our support services, like all of the great things that Assure does, but that we don't want the abortion-determined women to see.
Absolutely.
So we separate those out. So far, it's been really effective. I haven't had any issues on social media with, somebody connecting First Step to Life to Assure. But that's how we combat that.
Okay.
And it's effective.
Yeah, I believe that it is. And I would say there are centers across the nation, centers that I've been in touch with that do the same thing or that are starting to do the same thing because, once again, we want to create an environment where that young lady feels safe, like she can come get information. If we're throwing the gospel in her face even before she gets in the door, she's going to be more reluctant to come. We do share the gospel.
Of course.
And we do tell her the truth. We just don't let her know. She just doesn't, we just don't lead with that. It's there. We just don't lead with it.
Yeah. And something else that I do regularly is comb Google almost every day and actually search for Assure Women's Center. Because not everyone thinks like we do. There's lots of churches that innocently put Assure Women's Center and pro-life if we're like a ministry they support. So I am constantly scouring Google and social media to make sure that nothing about Assure pops up that's pro-life because I don't want her to see it.
Right.
Even though it's great stuff and it's all true, it will defer her from coming here.
Absolutely. So if donors or supporters want to reach Assure, they reach us at FirstSteptoLife.com or First Step to Life Omaha on Facebook.
Right.
And then if patients want to reach us or if our listeners know someone that needs an appointment, they will go to AssureOmaha.com.
Yeah.
Right.
Nebraska's largest pro-life event is almost here. We invite you to join us for the 2025 Imagine Banquet, presented by Laura Lee Hunt Bird on Thursday, April 24th, 2025 at 6:30 p.m. at the CHI Health Center in downtown Omaha. And this year, we are honored to welcome Allie Beth Stuckey, renowned author and podcast host, as the keynote speaker. Tickets are just $45 per person, and sponsorship opportunities are available for those who want to make an even greater impact in supporting life-saving work. But hurry, seating is limited. Secure your spot today by visiting FirstSteptoLife.com/imagine. Again, that is FirstSteptoLife.com/imagine.
All right, so let's shift now to what happens once a woman reaches out to us. So our patient process is we've been using this patient process for some time. Our staff, long before I became executive director, went on a 40-day fast. We had moved into the new building that we're in, or this building was new then, and our parking lot was empty. And so our staff went on a 40-day fast and just began to ask God, how do we reach the girls that we do? And we found this awesome patient process that we started to use, and since then have really embraced it. And I feel like it's really been successful in reaching the girls that we have. And so we're really grateful for finding that patient process that we use, which we now call the focus patient process. So Audrey, when a woman calls or visits for the first time, what does that process look like to her?
Good question. And I'm going to start by saying it's the same for every patient. And I think that that's super important, because we don't have to wonder, what are we going to do for this woman? We're going to do the exact same thing every time. So she either calls, she texts, she emails, she walks in. Sometimes they don't have an appointment. And then we gather just enough information to schedule her for a pregnancy test appointment. And once she comes to that appointment, she meets her advocate, which is the person who's going to walk her through that appointment. They start by just getting some basic information from her on her life circumstance, her situation, the support that she has in her life, what options she's considering with her pregnancy, all of that information. And then they also go through her pregnancy options with her in detail so she knows what she has available to her. From that point, they go to the medical side, and our medical staff run a urine pregnancy test. If the test is positive, they will then do an ultrasound with her to help her determine how far along she is, whether her pregnancy is viable, which is all good information for her to have when she is narrowing down her pregnancy options. And then we always send them home with a list of referrals for physicians.
Okay, good. So how do we ensure that she feels welcomed and supported from the very beginning?
Good question. I think a lot of things play into this, so it's kind of a big question. One of the biggest things that I think, and Allie did touch on this when she talked about marketing, one of the biggest things I think makes them feel welcome and supported is the fact that we design everything to meet her need, which is an unplanned pregnancy, but we do it in a very upfront and truthful way. So we intentionally remove any of the pressure that she's feeling from her life or any outside forces regarding her decision-making process. And our whole goal is to give her some space so that she can just sit down and be honest with us and transparent about what she's actually considering without any judgment. So we expect our patients to walk in the door and say that they want an abortion, or at least that they're considering it, or at least like they feel like they want to consider it. Sometimes they'll say, I'm going to parent, but I don't even want to. All of those things I think are important for us to know, and it's important for her to feel like she can say that. So we offer the truth and love, and one of the things that we commonly say is truth has no agenda, it simply is. And so we provide information on all three options for her pregnancy, so abortion, adoption, and parenting. And we put everything out in the open with facts. So I really believe that our patients thrive when they come into an environment that doesn't shrink or pull away from that reality, but we instead lovingly show her all the support that she actually has.
Yeah, and I'd say we have a friendly staff too. So
for sure.
Here,
You get that on a lot of exit surveys.
absolutely.
Our volunteers are incredible. They're so sweet. And I think that because they're genuinely just being who they are with the patient, they sense that.
Allie shared a story that you shared earlier with her. Do you have another story that you want to share with us?
I do. And you'll actually recognize this one, I think, because it was a big deal to the staff. We had a patient come in here recently. She was 30, still is 30. She's a single mom. She has 2 young children already. And she came in saying right away that she doesn't want to be pregnant again. And it was too soon because her youngest was born in 2024. So very young. She was very upfront with saying that she intended to get an abortion. She was not sure which of 2 different men was the father of the baby. And they were telling her that either they didn't believe the baby was theirs, or that if the baby was theirs, they just wanted her to have an abortion. So she also said she didn't really have any support for parenting. She said her mom was the only person in her life who would support a parenting decision, but everyone else in her life would support an abortion. She did have an ultrasound at that appointment, and she was quiet and kind of withdrawn. She appeared sad. But what was interesting that ultrasound is that they weren't able to confirm that it was only one baby. They saw that perhaps there was a possibility for twins. So she revealed at that appointment that she actually had an abortion scheduled for just a few days from then. And we all began to pray, that she wouldn't go to that abortion appointment. So the following week, she did end up returning for her repeat appointment, which always just excites us so much. That's the whole goal.
Yeah.
And when she came in, she had this super fascinating story about how she had gone to Planned Parenthood. She'd walked in for that appointment. She said that on her drive there, she'd really been second guessing herself. Like maybe she didn't want to go through with this, especially with the potential for 2 babies, but she was being driven by someone else and they were confident in taking her there. So she was just going to go along with it. But when she walked in, she met with the abortionist and then she fainted.
Oh, wow.
Yes. And so she said that because she'd fainted and she didn't know why, that wasn't something that was regular for her, but they were unable to do the abortion procedure and they had to reschedule it for a later date. During that gap, she was able to come back and we were able to confirm that it was in fact 2 babies. They were 6 weeks and 3 days old. So she got to hear their heartbeats and that was very significant to her. She did still leave undecided, but was clearly processing and thinking and taking it all in. And we have been able to keep in touch with her and do know that she in fact did not go through with her rescheduled abortion appointment. And the second time either, it was actually the day of one of our recent snowstorms. And I remember one of our coworkers, when we were praying as a staff that day, one of our coworkers prayed that if the snowstorm was what it took to prevent her from going through with that appointment, then bring it on. And sure enough, it did. She didn't go and she chose to parent. She said she's now seeing an OB provider and so it's all good.
Prayer works. So I want to share a few of the numbers for sure. Last fiscal year, we served 1,712 patients. Of those patients, 87% or 1,486 were positive. And this is a number that we track because we want to make sure that we're reaching the right girls. But 1,058 of those patients were at high risk for abortion. That means those are the girls that we want. Not that the other girls are not important, because they're all important, but that young lady either has an abortion scheduled or thinks that that's the only thing that she can do. And so if we're reaching her, then we're certainly going to be catching the others. And of those that we served, 1,128 chose life, which is about 76%, which praise God for that.
Yes.
But we want it to be 100%. We want all of our girls to choose life. And so we'll continue to serve those girls until Jesus comes back. And then we also had 1,072 complete gospel presentations as well. So we're serving them with truth, with love, and sharing the gospel as well. Audrey, what resources or programs do we offer to help women beyond their pregnancy decision?
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, we send a list of referrals home with every patient that we see or every appointment that they come to. So our biggest referral would be OBs. And we are careful that each physician that we refer to is somebody who would confidently support her towards a life choice. So not going to refer her for an abortion either. We also offer referrals at the patient's request for a large variety of other needs that she may have. So safety referrals if she's in a dangerous situation, housing, financial referrals, counseling, so on and so forth. And then we also have a support services department that provides parenting classes year round and also other types of classes throughout the year on a large variety of topics. So I think currently we've got some classes going on blended families, boundaries, CPR, personal finances, and those kinds of things. And we have a baby boutique where they can come and get material assistance.
Okay, cool. One final question for you guys. Allie and Audrey, both, your faith is central in what we do at Assure Women's Center. How does your faith guide your work and interactions with women we serve? Allie, let's start with you.
Well, most of the time I feel like David and Goliath is Planned Parenthood and Nebraska Abortion Resources. And I'm looking at their multi-million-dollar advertising budget. And I'm looking at my $100 and thinking, how can I even compete? However, I mean, prayer is central to what I do. So if I'm creating an ad or if I'm starting a new campaign, I'm praying. I mean, the Lord can overwhelm my little marketing budget. And he has. There's so many times we get calls thinking we're Planned Parenthood and we're not. Isn't that true? Yeah. And so I'm just praying the whole time, like, if the Lord would bless the words, help it reach the right people, put it on the screens of people that I'm not even paying for. And he always delivers.
Absolutely.
I mean, some of the things that we've been able to do with marketing, we should not be being able to do with the budget that we have. And somehow it always works out. So that's how faith plays into what I'm trying to do online and how to reach them effectively.
Good. What about you, Audrey?
I can't even imagine how you would do a job like this and not have the Lord. I think that, we get to see a spiritual battle on like as close up as you can get every day when we know that life is of the Lord and death is of the enemy. And so we face that battle up front every day, and having a rooted foundation in God's word and in your time with him is absolutely essential to being able to continue talking to these women and facing that evil head on. The women are not evil. I love the women, but the battle is, it's dark. And also, like you mentioned earlier, we do get to offer spiritual discussion to every patient we have. And so getting to share the gospel and put the truth, even eternal truth, in that time with her is everything. And so remaining close to the Lord is so vital to that as well.
So as we wrap up, what final message would you like to share with our listeners?
Thank you if you support us, because, without your prayers and finance, we definitely couldn't
For sure.
do what we do.
And it's so encouraging whenever we have donors say something, about the fact that they are praying or involved in that way. That's bigger. Yes, we need volunteers, and I hope somebody listening maybe feels the call to come here, but at the same time, the biggest thing we need is prayer.
Absolutely.
So, huge, and thank you for anyone doing that.
We want to thank you for joining us on Life Matters this week. Life Matters is an educational outreach resource of Assure Women's Center in Omaha, Nebraska. To learn more about the ministry of Assure, visit FirstSteptoLife.com. That's FirstSteptoLife.com. Thanks for listening to Life Matters. Join us again next week at the same time right here on BOT Radio Network.